Mr. Navarro, could you call the roll and let the record reflect the mayor is absent tonight?
Definitely. Deputy Mayor Keim?
Here.
Councilmember Joyce? Present. Councilmember Robinson? Councilmember Weiss? Here.
And do we have Father Ray Evangelista from St. Mary's Star of the Sea for our invocation tonight? Oh, there he is. Coming up, Father. Everyone, please stand.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and all the council members. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Loving Father, we are gathered here together for this council meeting. We ask you to be with us, especially to our hearts and mind, and your Holy Spirit, to have your holy will. And we are asking you to also give us the strength, the wisdom, the knowledge, how to govern this beautiful city, and also for the common good of all our people. All this we thank you and ask you through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Father. And remain standing, and Councilmember Robertson, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
As we begin, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Proclamations and presentations are going to be presented at the next meeting. And with that, Mr. Mullen, could we have the closed session report?
Yes, the City Council met in closed session at 3:30. Mayor Sanchez was out sick and absent, and there was, on item 1, council discussed status of negotiations with the Oceanside Police Officers Association. Item 2A1, fire blast versus the city, is continued to the next meeting. Item 2A2, Rasul versus City of Oceanside, and item 2A3, I should say, Paul versus City of Oceanside. Both those items, Rasul and Paul, were discussed and direction was provided, but there's no action to report under the Brown Act under any of the items tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mullen. Moving to the consent calendar. Mr. Navarro, do we have a request to pull any items?
We have a request from a member of the public to pull item number 14.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the balance? Motion and second, please vote. Okay, do we have
Motion
staff?
approved, 4-0.
Do we have staff for item 14?
I can handle the matter if there's a question.
I'll bring public. Who pulled the item, Mr. Navarro?
Diane Nygaard?
Okay. Ms. Nygaard?
Good evening, Deputy Mayor, Council. Back in 2018, when a notice of prep was done for this, meeting was held for this project out at Melba Bishop Park, there were over 200 people in attendance. The number one concern was evacuation safety.
No, it wasn't.
We know there have been a number of changes made to evacuation procedures since then. That will certainly make things better than what was experienced with the Lilac Fire. But we also know that the rate, the frequency, and severity of wildfires is increasing throughout the West and actually throughout the world. And a major concern with the project where this one is located is the roadway configuration. North River Road is the primary way in and out of that area. This project occurs on both sides, and that construction is already underway today. So people who live in that area are already impacted by what's happening. So we certainly would urge you to accept this donation and to work expeditiously to make sure we've identified the specific improvements that would be made, and to hopefully do that well before the occupancy certification for the 395th unit, which could be 4 or 5 years from now. The impacts are today. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Nygaard. Back to council, Councilmember Weiss.
I just have a question for Mr. Mullen. Attached to the staff report is a letter from an attorney's office, but I don't recall this being a condition of approval.
It is not.
Oh, so how are we getting the money?
My understanding is there's a private agreement between the developer and Preserve Calavera where the developer is providing this money.
Move approval, staff recommendation.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
Okay. On to general items. In consideration of the mayor's absence tonight, we are going to move item 18 to the next council meeting on the 18th. And considering that public hearing items, number 19 is a time certain at 6 o'clock, we're going to move on to number 20, advance written requests to speak. Do we have Mr. James Johnson here to speak? So please approach the podium, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor, council members, distinguished guests, citizens of Oceanside. I want to address the issue that probably affects myself as well as others here. And first of all, I want to commend your staff because I did receive a phone call prior to coming here regarding my issue. But first thing is, one of the things I want to address is the abuse by a few punish the masses. And what I mean by that is that obviously our homeless RV owners, they're parking their RVs or oversized vehicles anywhere they want to in the city. And people like myself, that's a resident of 20-some years, I'm a 19-year RV owner. And the rules had always been, you could park your RV up to 72 hours, which was state. But in 2021, you guys made a decision that, hey, because of the abuses and the complaints, we're gonna punish the masses. So with that being said, I look at homeowners like myself, I pay for storage every month, $220-some. So if I wanna bring my RV home, go out for a visit, I gotta come coordinate $5 for a permit each time, before and after. I think for me, it could be a better compromise where I am willing to pay a one-time fee, like the owners of businesses, that they can pay a one-time fee to park their vehicles how many times they want. With the stipulation that was given to the staff, 6 times a month, fine. But like I told your staff, I'm willing to pay a blanket $100 and some. If I park my vehicle twice a year because my son plays football, he plays rugby, I don't even get to enjoy my RV. But I don't want to be, every time I want to take it out, I gotta go coordinate with the city, get email, or come here personally, pay $5. 1028, oversized parking restrictions. No person shall park within 72 hours. I'm asking to give me back my 72 hours, to give the citizens back their 72 hours. If we abuse it, then you can take it away from us. But what was incurred, you took it away from us without a voice, because during COVID, everything was done via Zoom. I roughly pay, like I say, $228 a month. Why should I incur $5 every time I want to bring my RV to unpack and load it? Give me that option that I can take that back. My biggest complaint is there's RV parks around Oceanside that obviously people are parking RVs as long-term tenants. Per the ordinance, they're not supposed to. But the city is not holding those RV parks accountable. But you're holding homeowners accountable. I'm saying let's be fair. Hold me accountable, hold every RV park accountable. That's what I would like to have. Let's make a compromise. Give me an opportunity that I can get $100 for a year, just like beach parking, that I can use my RV whenever I want to use it. And as you know, prices continue to go up. I make that sacrifice when I need to, as well as any homeowner that wants to make that choice. So I'm asking the council here with your staff to look at how we can bridge that gap, not just for me, but for many citizens within Oceanside that want to enjoy the luxuries of the RV or their boats or whatever they have that they've worked so hard to get. So with me putting that out, my 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes, but I would like you to take a look at it. Your staff and I have already collaborated. I think we can come to a mutual agreement that, hey, someone's paying storage, why should we continue to pay $5? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Okay, item 21, communications from the public regarding items not on the agenda. Mr. Navarro, do we have any speakers?
We have 10 speakers registered for item number 21.
Okay.
Our first speaker is Mark McFarling, to be followed by Kim Stone, to be followed by Michael Tenhover.
And as you come up, if the second speaker could go to the second podium and be ready to speak. Thank you. All right. Mr. McFarland, whenever you're ready.
All right. Good evening, Honorable Deputy Mayor, City Council. My name is Mark McFarland, and I'm a resident of the neighborhood north of the proposed Eddie Jones project. I joined you this evening to express my vehement opposition to the Eddie Jones project. As a resident who will be directly and negatively affected by this proposed development, I would like to raise some serious concerns, some of which you may have heard already. This project will be twice as large as the earlier proposed Amazon project on Ocean Ranch that was rightfully rejected as not being in the interests of the residents or the city. This project is also 3 times the size of and has a vastly more intense impact on the surrounding community than the previously existing facility. Impacts like traffic, noise, environmental pollution, and fire safety, which directly impact not only the residents of this area, but anyone who has to commute on the 76 between Interstate 5 and Interstate 15 in either direction. This project, in actuality, would have close to 2,800 trips a day, not what the developer says. That's 117 trucks an hour, or 1 truck every 30 seconds, 24 hours a day. Have you ever been on a road where they have 2 semi-trailers pulling out every minute? Can you imagine what this is going to do to the traffic, the already congested intersections at Benet Road or Interstate 5? Make no mistake, this is a backdoor Amazon project. RPG has not been honest with us, and they are not being honest with you. Don't you find it interesting that the same architectural firm, Ware McComb, that designed the previous Amazon project has now designed this one? Doesn't that seem like a large coincidence? I remind you that there is also no limitation on adding back the other 57 bays after construction per the existing conditional use permit. So this modification, that they, as they're calling it, is disingenuous at best, but more likely dishonest and intentionally deceitful. Why won't they disclose who their tenants are? I'm sure they have one lined up. I'm guessing it rhymes with Schmamazon. What is preventing them from selling this development the moment that the project is completed, like they did with the industrial facility that they built in Carlsbad? The answer is nothing. The city council wants if the city council wants to treat our community, the community I live in, as fairly as they did the residents in the Ocean Ranch area, they should reject this project and keep the tenants like Amazon out. If, worst case scenario, this project is approved, it is in the best interest of the City of Oceanside and its residents that approval of any project in this area should contain within the conditions of approval the filing of mandatory covenants, conditions, and restrictions which restrict the operating hours to the hours between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, so that the number of trucks on site should be limited to 18 at any given point in time as per the original zoning. We cannot afford to trust these people. Everything needs to be in writing, recorded, and enforceable by substantial fines for violation thereof, thereby making this sort of facility unviable for Amazon.
Thank you, Mr. McFarland.
Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor, honorable council members. My name is Kim Stone. I'm a resident of Oceanside, 899 River Tree Drive. And I believe that Mark, the previous speaker, covered everything very well. The traffic is one of our major concerns. We have over 1,200 homes north of the municipal airport, and those homes are going to be severely impacted by the traffic that this is going to generate for us. If the 76 is your primary road of travel, then you might as well forget anything moving between the I-5 and the I-15, because it's already overloaded and congested. Add these trucks to it, that's going to make matters even worse. And they have been very deceptive by telling us that they have reduced the number of trucks to 57, where in reality we have confirmed that the plans that were submitted that are being currently reviewed have not been changed in any way, shape, or form. So again, they are continuing to be very deceptive and non-transparent for the citizens. So I ask that in the near future, when this comes before you for your approval, I hope that you will support us and understand our situation. We do have over 5,000 signatures, and keep in mind that it far exceeds our homeowners north of the river So we're not the only ones that are concerned. There are a lot of other citizens that are equally concerned about what this is going to do to our traffic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Dillon. Mr. Tinover?
Honorable Deputy Mayor, City Council, my name is Michael Tenhover. I lived in Oceanside for 22 years. My wife and I volunteer at the senior center. We go to the beach cleanups, the river cleanups, save our sand and other things. We also volunteer at 2 of the wildlife preserves in Oceanside. Oceanside is a beautiful place to live, and we appreciate the efforts this council, the previous councils have made to make this a beautiful place to live. But tonight I'm in blue, so you kind of know why I'm here. I want to report that the area bordering the proposed warehouse is a beautiful, wild, and natural section of the San Luis Rey River. I know it because I go for the cleanups every year. It's a beautiful place. Many years ago, that section was actually widened by the previous owner for flood control. Nature has recovered. It's now a rich ecosystem, diverse wildlife. It's a beautiful place. This truck warehouse would be the first large, noisy, polluting, not to mention ugly industrial plant along the river. Starting at I-15 all the way to the Pacific Ocean, we have houses and churches and parks and schools along the river. There's nothing like this plant along that river. My simple message tonight is Oceanside and the City Council need to continue making the city better, like you've done in the past, and that means not putting a noisy, ugly truck warehouse in this special place. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Wade, begin.
Deputy Mayor Kame, honorable city council members. My name is Jim Waite. My wife and I have lived in the California Breezes neighborhood just north of the Oceanside Airport for 15 years. It's only 2 sentences long. I'll make it short and sweet. I oppose the Eddie Jones Warehouse Distribution Center project primarily due to the increase in heavy truck traffic and resulting congestion into and out of Benet Road and State Route 76, which will severely impact the adjacent neighborhoods, but more importantly, the emergency service vehicles ingress and egress. Vis-a-vis the last year, we had a major fire up in that area. Secondary concerns include increased air and noise pollution from heavy diesel trucks, as well as the unknown at this time, unspecified building occupants for Eddie Jones project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. McCallick?
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and City Council members. My name is Karen McCallick, and I've been fortunate to call Oceanside home since 1987. I live in the airport neighborhood just north of the proposed Eddie Jones project. And one of the most, I just wanted to put my slant on things, one of the most positive enhancements, I feel, a beautiful enhancement to the area has been the development of the San Luis Rey River Trail, which, as you know, extends for 9 miles from North Santa Fe Avenue at the 76th through the valley and all the way to the beach. This beautiful trail is popular not only with local residents, but with tourists as well for cycling, running, walking, bird watching, accessing the beach and harbor areas. Any time of day that you choose to enjoy the trail, I guarantee that you'll have the pleasure of spying any of a variety of shorebirds, ducks, blue herons, egrets, owls, turtles, frogs, hawks. Just a small sampling of the wildlife that also calls the San Luis Rey River and the surrounding habitat their home. So the Eddie Jones project would be located just a stone's throw from the river trail, and along with the valid concerns that have already been mentioned, I just want to bring attention to the concern that I personally have for the many animals that live and travel through this regionally important wildlife corridor, which would also be affected by toxic diesel emissions, noxious fumes, disturbing levels of noise, and potential chemicals. I feel strongly that the documented serious effects to the health of humans, animals, and the environment that would result from a steady convoy of loud diesel-spewing trucks are completely incompatible with the aesthetics of the nearby river trail for attracting visitors and tourists, and certainly the quality of life of the residents in the adjacent neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Selnick?
Hi, Darren Selnick, Good evening, Deputy Mayor Kime, City Council members. Good to see you all here tonight. I just want to make a few points a little bit differently than the other members. I'm a member of Oceanside Speaks Out, and recently got elected to be on my California Breezes HOA Board of Directors and live right near the project. Few key points real quick about the group and the neighborhood and what we really want. Although we oppose this specific Eddie Jones project, we are not opposed to development in the area. We know that's important. We want a win-win-win, a win for the residents, a win for the city, and a win for the developers. We need good developers. We're opposed to this project as it's being proposed. Now, couple things. Once again, to emphasize the size of this project, it's immense, 31 acres. The building is 1,250 feet long. That's almost a quarter mile, the length of the building itself. That's how immense the project is. It's mostly warehouse, 2/3 of it, 369,000 square feet. And to have a win for the city, and we need the right kind of project in there, things like a life sciences, which is really popular and growing in the area, and biotech, something that's going to bring good jobs and good revenue to the city. Now, the developer at our urging did an economic impact statement. Now, you know, Ocean Camp, once it gets built, will bring in millions of dollars a year. This project will only bring in a net to the city of $72,103 per year. That's almost nothing. Not worth it for this kind of project. We know it's early in the process. We're going to be looking at the EIR and have analysis on it to bring out more facts. So we will be around after the EIR comes out. We'll come back with specific facts. We're not just emotionally driven. We're very fact driven. Once again, we want what's best for the residents, what's for the city, and what's for the developer. Really have a plus addition for this stuff. Last thing is transparency. You know, it's an old political saying, but you shouldn't have to understand what's going to happen till after the vote. So with this project, we have to wait for approval to know what type of business is going to be in the project. That is ridiculous. We should not have to wait for approval of the project to find out what type of business will be in the project. That's a little silly, and we try to work with the developer. But once again, thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you, Ms. Keck. Go ahead.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Kime, City Council members, thank you for your time, your efforts, your interest for our city. We so appreciate your time, your energy that you put forth for us. We're hoping again that you'll hear us. I am here to speak ever so briefly on AB 316. If you are not familiar with that, it has just passed the California legislative branch as of September 11, 23. It is currently being studied. It will be implemented. This is autonomous vehicles, giant trucks that will have someone sitting in the cab but not driving it, not paying attention, probably texting a girlfriend, a family member. You pick what they're going to be doing on their phone, but they are not going to be able to stop this truck when it is barreling down the road and someone mistakenly in a moment turns in front of them, steps in front of them, bikes in front of them. We're nervous, we're scared, we don't like the trucks anyway, and this is a particularly egregious piece of legislation that will not be here tomorrow, but it is coming our way. The governor has stated that this is our future. I don't want that in my future. I don't want that in my next door yard. I don't want that down the street from me. I don't want my kids. I don't want you going home to your family if you use the 76 or the 15 or the 5 and those intersections. I don't want you there when there's a truck how many tons? I don't even have a clue how big these trucks are, 10,000 pounds without a driver. Just someone who's texting their day away because they are not responsible for the lives that are in front of that truck. Please, one of the issues will be to look at AB 316. That's coming our way. Thank you for your time, again, for everything that you do for our city.
Thank you. Mr. Keck, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Dave Keck, 22-year resident of Oceanside. Good evening, Deputy Mayor Kime, and thank you for allowing me to speak to our council. I want to talk about the pending Eddie Jones project like so many have. I want to address specifically some of the harmful facts of having a warehouse distribution center in our community, such as ours. The diesel trucks emit a mixture of air pollutants typically composed of carbon particles. They include over 40 known cancer-causing organic substances. The California Air Resource Board has linked exposure to these carbon particles to lung cancer and other health effects. These effects include premature death, hospitalizations, and emergency room visits with exacerbated chronic heart, lung disease, asthma, and deceased lung functioning in children. Our community is vulnerable, especially our children and our elderly. Even though there's been a reduction in diesel fuel emission, there are plans to require non-diesel trucks starting in the year 2035. The impact of this will not be realized until much older model trucks have been run out their usefulness, and that'll probably be way after 2035. I do not want our community to be exposed to any more life-threatening pollutants, especially since we have the ability to not allow a significant generator of these pollutants to become a resident of our community. Let us be proactive. You have the ability to stop this when it comes before you, so please consider the negative impact of the Eddie Jones project will have on our community when you make your decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Knott. Go ahead.
Deputy Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. Two subjects, as I normally have, is first off, mobile home parks, and we need to have the protection the homeowners do because, as you know, we have a unique lived lifestyle. Our homes are owned by homeowners. The land we sit on are normally owned by outside the park investors or are owned by people who live like in Long Beach or New York or somewhere else. Even some parks are owned by the People's Republic of China, believe it or not. And they also have rights. As an example, I'll show you. There's coming an increase in our utility bills. They have a superior right because they are the landowner over increases. Homeowners, we can complain, but we don't have really an official voice because the law does not really look at that, even though we're the users and we're also the end payers. This needs to be corrected, and one way to correct that is to pass and make sure we are mobile home park districts, and you're sitting there doing nothing. That's not our fault. It's only the council. You have the power. The second thing is along the line of the Eddie Jones property. When the EIR is done, they are just looking at the existing situation and the proposed design. The proposed design really doesn't do away with anything from the original design. It closes the back area that can be easily modified to be the same as the old design. It doesn't allow for any future use that is coming along very shortly. And one of those future uses is electric vehicles and other associated things that go along with it. They're too long for me to stand here with 4 seconds to tell you what it is.
Thank you, Mr. Knott.
That concludes our speakers.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. We're going to move on to the adoption of ordinances. Number 22 is City Council adoption of an ordinance amending Oceanside City Code to provide for mayor appointments to regional boards and commissions and the deputy mayor position at the second meeting in December. Mr. Mullen, can you title ordinance?
This is the second read and adoption of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside, amending Oceanside City Code Chapter 2, Sections 2.1.64 and 2.1.65 to provide for mayoral appointment of regional board and commission members in the deputy mayor position at the second meeting in December.
Move approval.
Second.
For vote. We're going to hold general council member comments till the end. Our public hearing item, that's going to be held on the dot at 6 o'clock, so we're going to have a quick recess until 6. Thank you. Open our public hearing on item 19, which is consideration of text amendments to the zoning ordinance implementing document of the local COSTEM program amending Article 12 Downtown District to establish a maximum density for mixed units in the downtown district. I'd like to start with council member disclosures.
Staff, I think we received letters from interested parties and members of the public.
Same for me.
Same for me.
Staff, public, and interest letters.
Okay, we have a staff report from Mr. Baeza.
Deputy Mayor Keim, members of the council. Manny Baeza here, principal planner for the planning division, presenting this project. Staff and the Downtown Advisory Committee recommend that the City Council introduce an ordinance and adopt a resolution approving a zone amendment and local coastal program amendment for amendments to the Downtown District zoning ordinance to establish a maximum density of 100 dwelling units per acre for mixed-use development projects in the Downtown District, and enhanced density bonus schedules for the very low income, and moderate income dwelling units. Some background on this project: in August of 2019, the City Council approved a zone text amendment and local coastal program amendment to the Downtown District to remove the 43 dwelling unit per acre density limit for mixed-use projects, resulting in no density cap for the downtown. The cap removal assumed projects would still be subject to existing downtown development standards shown here on the right for height, setback, parking, et cetera. The action maintained the historic 5,500 unit cap for downtown units. To date, approximately 2,300 units have been built in the downtown, and 323 affordable units are either built or under entitlement review. In January of 2022, the 712 Seagaze Density Bonus Project was approved for the downtown district, consisting of an 8-story mixed-use studio apartment and hotel building on approximately 16,000 square foot site with a density of 321 dwelling units per acre. Changes to state density bonus law limited the city's ability to apply development standards without penalty, thereby enabling such high-density projects with multiple code waivers. Staff was subsequently tasked with developing a new downtown district density cap that also encouraged construction of more affordable housing. To that end, staff developed a 2-part amendment to establish a density cap at a maximum of 100 dwelling units per acre for mixed-use projects in the downtown district, and incentivize additional affordable housing development with enhanced density bonus schedules for very low income, and moderate income units. In developing this amendment, staff conducted an evaluation of existing and proposed downtown mixed-use projects and found that the existing average density was 175 dwelling units per acre. From there, staff proposed a target range of 150 to 200 dwelling units per acre. Staff concluded that a proposed density cap of 100 dwelling units per acre could achieve the target range when used with enhanced density bonus schedules. The proposed schedules provide sizable enhanced bonuses of 75% density bonus at 15% very low income units, a 75% density bonus at 20% low income units, and a 35% density bonus at 30% moderate income units. Staff notes that the proposed amendments enable maximum density of 100 dwelling units per acre, which is more than double the 2019 maximum density of 43 dwelling units per acre. It also incentivizes affordable housing at higher rates and ensures consistency with the city's recently adopted housing element. The downtown district development regulations will ensure that higher density allowances do not adversely affect downtown traffic circulation and parking conditions. If the amendments are approved, the ordinance would take effect 30 days from the day of adoption for downtown district areas outside of the coastal zone. Downtown areas within the coastal zone boundary will require a subsequent approval by the Coastal Commission. Pending downtown projects that have filed SB 330 applications have locked in their applicable development standards. Proposed amendments would apply to yet to be filed downtown projects. With that, staff and the Downtown Advisory Committee recommend that the City Council introduce an ordinance and adopt a resolution approving a zone amendment and a local coastal program amendment for amendments to Article 12 Downtown District of the zoning ordinance to establish a maximum density of 100 dwelling units per acre for mixed-use development projects in the downtown district and enhanced density bonus schedules for very low income, and moderate income dwelling units. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, do we have any correspondence and or petitions?
All the correspondence has been distributed to council. However, we did receive one after 4 o'clock from Lori Birchall, which was distributed to council after 4.
Do we have any advance written requests to speak?
We do. We have 6 advance written requests to speak. Our first speaker is Patty Kay, to be followed by Richard Newton, to be followed by Beth Barnum, and we have 2 podiums that are available. As your name is called, please make your way to the next available podium. Thank you.
Again, if you're the next in line, please feel free to come up to the second podium and get ready to speak.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I really, because we weren't watching or knowing or whatever, I'd really like to hold this vote tonight. Our mayor isn't here, and I would really appreciate that. I don't know what authority that is, but I really think that's important. This is an important vote. For one thing, last council meeting, 4 out of 5 of you signed the letter to the Governor Newsom to push back on his mandated housing requirements, okay? But now this issue is in your discretion. So everybody in Oceanside, be aware, the council tonight has the discretion on how much extra density bonus to allow. What are you smiling at, Eric? Yeah, anyway, so
Could
I
we
know.
please keep the
I know
comments
thing.
just to the council in general? Thank you.
Yeah, I would like the attention, please. We need more time to, look this over, so I'm asking for you to stop it. But many of the staff do their work just fine, but they don't live in Oceanside. We live in Oceanside. But those of us who live in Oceanside, all of you live east of the Freeway 5. Therefore, you do not live down in this coastal zone area where you're proposing higher density. I would like to know how this benefits the local residents who are residents too. I know you're trying to preserve the other neighborhoods, but we are a neighborhood as well. And it impacts us in congestion, traffic, when you don't have any less parking. For instance, this is the proposed development right now at the current housing. And if you added up to the allowable amount that you're voting on, it would be how many more stories higher? I mean, this is already 8 stories high. How does that benefit anyone? How does it, plus the density units are a lot smaller, how does that benefit any of the low-income housing if a family that's both people are working, 2 children, a dog and a cat, where you're in a smaller unit in a shoebox, it doesn't even make sense, and there's no yard for the children. So your efforts at getting low-income housing is in a much smaller unit downtown. And it could be from South Oceanside, it could be from South Oceanside all the way up here to to Neptune, to high density all along the way. And that's with 4 lanes of highway. When you reduce Coast Highway to 2 lanes, it will be bumper to bumper from here
Thank you.
all the way to South Oceanside. Please delay your vote.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Deputy Mayor Keim, members of the council and the public. Just very briefly, I'd like to point out that as a resident and property owner here in Oceanside, longtime resident, that I would like to voice my concerns against higher density projects, and I would urge the city council to consider keeping density at the lowest possible amounts. Higher density projects impact on quality of life, and they cause a lot of traffic problems, and they just basically harm our city in the long run. So to the extent possible, let's minimize the amount of development we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barnum, and next up, Ms. Martinez.
Good evening. Again, I'm just asking, like the previous speakers, for you to delay your vote. I'm a lifelong resident of Oceanside. I can't afford to live on the west side of I-5. I do not come down here during the summertime as it is, with 2 lanes going north and south, and I know that vote has been done. We're going to reduce those 4 lanes to 2, and to add, to add the high density. I see the shadows that the beautiful hotels already cast on the sidewalks. Everyone talks about low-income housing. What's low-income housing? Last week, you talked about 375 square feet, or I can't remember the meeting, 375 square feet for low-income housing. Is that $2,500? No one ever talks about what it costs to live in a low-income housing unit. And if it's 18, who can afford that? Oceanside is losing its charm. It really is. And I am all for bringing in tax dollars, but what is happening isn't okay. And I don't see, Ryan, we've spoken, and I appreciate it, but I think you need to hear more from the public. Honestly, I don't think the public pays attention, and then they see what happens, and then they're upset. So we're encouraging people to come to city council meetings, but this high density, it doesn't make sense. The beach towns are leaving. I see what happened next. It's on Tremont, and I can't remember the name of the establishment exactly, but it's been here since the 1800s. And next to it is like a 4-story building, and it casts shadows on the back patio. And it's not pretty, and we do have to look at aesthetics and what attracts people to Oceanside, and this isn't it. I used to work for the Golden Door. If you know what that company is, it's a spa that attracts people from Hong Kong. It's like $12,000 a week to stay there. When they ask, where should we go, Carlsbad or Oceanside? Unfortunately, I don't tell them Oceanside. I tell them Carlsbad because it's got more walkability and it's got more charm. And I'm a resident. I pay taxes. We own homes here in Oceanside. I'm asking you to delay the vote.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez, and next up is Ms. Mobley.
Hello, everybody, Deputy Mayor and council members and staff. You know me, I like math, right? So I'm doing the numbers on this thing. And so what I get is we can have 230 units, dwelling units per acre, based upon all the density bonuses for very low, low, and moderately low income. That's a lot of units on 1 acre. And in the presentation that we just witnessed, I don't remember what his name was, I apologize for that, but he said he ensures that there will be no parking issues or traffic issues in the area. And I would like to know how one assures that, because honestly, I just don't believe it. So I'd like to know how you can assure that and guarantee that, because that really does make a difference. We know there is a push to get rid of vehicles. So yes, if no one's allowed to have a vehicle that buys these units, perhaps that might make a difference. That might not impact the traffic and parking issues. Or if they're allowed half a vehicle per unit, perhaps that's a doable thing. But realistically, we all know that's not doable. I'm trying to think what else I was going to say. That's really the main thing. You know, if Oceanside wants to be like every other big city, which seems to be a lot of the things that come up before the city council, we want to be like everybody else. That, again, attests to what Beth is saying. We're losing our uniqueness. Oceanside was a wonderful beach community, and now we're just going to be a beach city. And just like every other beach city, we'll be like another Home Depot or another Walmart. We'll be the Walmart of cities. And I don't think we want to be the Walmart of cities. I really don't. I don't think that's who Oceanside is. I don't think that's who the people of Oceanside are. And I don't think that's what the city council thinks Oceanside is. I mean, Walmart has its benefits, but it's not Oceanside. We are not Walmart. Or I don't want to be Walmart. And I don't want our housing to be Walmart. I don't want our streets to be Walmart. We need to keep our uniqueness, our individuality, and our character instead of just being another city on the beach. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mobley. And then Ms. Brown, please feel free to come down to the next podium, too.
Hi, good evening. I'm a long-term resident of Oceanside also, and I'm just really startled by the high-density building that's being allowed here in the city. I think traffic is going to be the major issue. I'm in the shadow now of the proposed, two shadows actually, of the high-density buildings down at Neptune and Moderna. There's not enough parking involved. We went to the meeting the other night. There just isn't. So, I mean, you tell 400 people they can only have one car. I don't envision that working. So they're left to park on the streets and clog our arteries. We have a high-density turnoff there at 5, and they're touting this as a building that's going to head up our beach community. I see it as an eyesore. I mean, in my opinion, it looks like it could be the corporate building for Starbucks. Why we needed another Starbucks in a beach community, I don't know. So I'm really fearful for everyone. I've been meeting with a lot of the people I know in small businesses downtown, but so far we haven't had time to mobilize because I don't think people know the enormity of some of these buildings planned. So when they've actually started to see them in fruition, they're going, oh my gosh. And if you so densify the exit off the freeway and don't provide parking, you could actually literally snuff off your downtown businesses. I've seen it happen in other communities. And I think that's one of the biggest worries. I think for the small businesses that exist now, maybe you can say in the future there's going to be some high-end businesses and wineries, but it will snuff out all the personality that we've developed over these past years. And I think it'll just be a tragedy. Thanks a lot. And I hope you, most of all, postpone the vote and give us a little bit more of a chance to push back on this additional high density. Thank you.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and council members. My name is Kelly Brown, and I'm here representing the Building Industry Association of San Diego County. We appreciate the work that staff put into the CAP being presented to you tonight. We understand there have been projects that have come before you that, with using state density bonus, that have received waivers for setbacks, parking requirements, open space, among others. These projects do not fit in with the feel and character of the city. Staff worked with stakeholder groups to come up with something that they thought would work to continue to build homes in Oceanside and hopes to provide projects that fit the character of the city. There are incentives to build additional affordable housing with a higher cap, which not only provides more housing for lower income families, but the increased density allowed with it helps projects pencil financially. Ideally, buildings should not be capped in areas like downtown, which provides many modes of transit and transportation options close to housing. The cap will also not eliminate projects using state density bonus with multiple waivers for parking setbacks and open space requirements. Projects will still be built, but the city will get less housing overall. That means less affordable and middle income units. What would be helpful is the adoption of design standards. Then when builders use the city's design standards, they could get their projects approved by right, not have to go through the expensive process of taking items to council. This would cut time of permit processing and reduce overall housing costs. And it would save the council from voting on projects that they can't vote no on anyways because of the state laws. We look forward to continuing to work with the city on ways to build housing we can all be proud of.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a public hearing. You didn't have to sign up to speak, so now is your chance. If you'd like to speak, please stand up. Okay, Mr. Knott, go ahead.
Yes, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. This proposal is workable, potentially. If you had a building maybe 20 stories high, but if you keep going the way that staff is proposing it, in my mind, I keep going back to a can of sardines. You're trying to pack so many into a small space. You're losing humanity, and I don't like losing humanity in the things we need in humanity. Art, airspace, cultural places, storage. I don't know how many of you have storage items. Bicycles, different things like that. Little small spaces don't allow for that. We have to also have an environmental balance that's out there. If we go around the world, there's good ideas if we look. Some places are including streams, actual streams, and building places. They're taking and putting in koi and other fish, animals into the developments, trees. I don't see this including that. And we have to consider having actual living spaces. And that's more than just humans packing in like sardines. You know, giving people a place to sleep and go to the bathroom and whatever. We need to start looking at what is actually human involvement. Unless you're planning for Sardine City. I thought we were Oceanside, not Sardine City. We need to look at mixed use too. I mean, you have to look and see how far people can walk or take a bike or a scooter, you know? I think this needs to go back to staff and say, be creative. Look at places around the world. Let's see what we can come up with that looks to the future that's beautiful.
Thank you, Mr. Nutt.
Thank you.
I don't see anyone else rising. I'm going to close this section of the public hearing.
Good evening. I am Andrew Johnson, and I've been in this area for over 10 years now between various different communities in San Diego. Just listening give me a scope of the need for balance, because I can see where there's a need for low-income housing. There's a need for people who have to take the bus, ride their bike, as you said, and a need for us to drive less, especially when we are driving gas cars. So we have to really consider that a person who may live in a high-density community should not be driving downtown to work. That person should be walking out of their house to their job, because that's a reason for it. The reason is to protect the environment, to have people spending less driving, using too much fossil fuel. So therefore, if a person who, is low income, have a job downtown and live in the dense area of Oceanside, it's not gonna benefit much. That person is still gonna be driving, which is one of the problems I have observing here in San Diego, why I can see why there's always traffic going downtown in the morning and traffic coming up in the evening. It only happens during rush hour, which is work. People coming and going to work and coming from work. So that means that's actually becoming counterproductive. I think that there should be work density, where people in North County really work in North County. and very seldom drive downtown. And so I think when you're handing out these houses, the people have to be vetted who are going to get these houses in these dense areas so that you can have the right thing, the right result, rather than creating a solution that end up not working because it's not operating the proper way. So that's what I want to bring solution. That's the solution I want to.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to say that as leaders of the community, we're counting on you guys to say no to some things that are not good for Oceanside. We're a small town. We don't want to be a huge city with all of these high-rise buildings. We could say no to greed and do what's right for the people. So we are counting on you guys to do the right thing. And this gentleman is correct. There are going to be like a bunch of sardines. That's also a safety issue, and it's going to create a lot of traffic on the 101. And so we need to think about all of these things. What is best for the community? What is best for the children, the families? We can go counter culture and do the right thing. And that's what we're hoping that you all do as our leaders. Actually listen to the community feedback, take that into consideration, and not just go with the flow of what everybody else is voting for. So be strong, and you have our support to say no and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening.
Yes.
I'm Kathy Pierce. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I encourage the council to please take a look at the building that is being built across from the In-N-Out on Coast, and that will give you an idea. That is under current density rules. That will give you an idea. Imagine that building, which is incredibly massive, being half again as large. And then those types of buildings elsewhere across Oceanside, beyond Coast Highway and down here where the theater is going to be redone, the transit center, et cetera. Those who spoke and previously talk about losing the character of Oceanside, that giant building across from In-N-Out, you know, God bless them, it's underway, and I hope it succeeds, but golly, it just does not fit in our beautiful beach community. So please take a moment, take a drive out, grab a burger, and look at that building and see if that's what you want for our city in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Seeing no one else rising, I'm going to close this section of the public hearing and bring it back for discussion. Before we start, I just want to clarify one thing I think may be confusing with the staff report. Are we lowering, and this can be to Sergio or Mr. Brego, we lowering or are we raising or lowering it? Can you help provide that clarification?
Certainly, Deputy Mayor Keim, members of the City Council. Currently, for downtown, in the downtown district for mixed-use developments, there is no density cap. So we've seen projects that have realized densities over 300 units an acre. So our effort tonight is to put a limit on the density and effective density for future developments in the city at 100 units an acre.
Okay, and why was that? Did staff see projects that looked like they're maybe a little too dense for what we wanted to see here?
There was one, Deputy Mayor Keim, there was one project in particular that caught the council's attention. It came to this body. It was known as 712 Seagaze. They took a lot that's just under 16,000 square feet, and they were able to facilitate a development that included 115 residential dwelling units in addition to 64 hotel rooms. That project had an effective density of over 320 units an acre. Okay. So in response to that, council gave staff direction to come up with a density cap that was workable, and so that's what we're considering tonight.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to bring it to council. Councilmember Weiss.
Thank you. And I was going to raise the same issue that us saying no leaves the densities similar to the Seagaze project at over 300 units per acre. This will, without density bonus, bring it down to 100. So we are looking at scaling some things back, even though with the density bonus, they could go a little bit higher. But I have a question. Is it within our authority to say projects that comply with your 15% very low, 20% low, and 30% moderate income set-aside requirements could be done ministerially?
Deputy Mayor, members of the council, we would have to draft that. You could give us that direction to return to council to come up with a program to make ministerial approvals, but we couldn't do that tonight.
Could we also then provide direction that density bonus projects that do not require or request any waivers or concessions also be ministerially approved?
You could give us that direction, and we could draft a program to implement that direction.
So that would not need to be included in the so I'm presuming we're introducing the ordinance tonight.
You're introducing the ordinance for the downtown district, but I think is your suggestion limited to the downtown district or for the entirety of the city?
Downtown district.
Yeah, we would have to draft those and bring those back for your consideration.
Okay. Thank you.
But I think we could move forward, if it were your will, move forward on tonight's density cap, give us direction to come back with the elements that you would include in that motion.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Joyce.
Clerk, can you? Okay. Thank you. Sorry, this is a lot of numbers, so I like to try and have some visuals because we're talking about 100, 200, and so it's like, what does that look like? I didn't make a full presentation. Don't run away yet. So this is Pierside South. It's a development downtown, and it has the density of 96.49 units per acre. So I just wanted everybody to kind of have an idea about what that looks like. That's 100 units per acre. That is one of the larger buildings in the downtown area. If you're walking around, it is clearly larger. You can see it from the third floor for sure. So I just wanted people to have that in mind while we're talking about this. So a couple questions for staff first. How would you describe the interest in developing downtown properties right now?
Deputy Mayor Kime, Councilmember Joyce, members of the City Council. So currently, there's a high interest in development activity in the downtown. We're currently processing at least half a dozen projects that have taken advantage of the unlimited density scenario.
Okay, thank you. And if the entire package tonight that was presented is adopted, what is the effective max density? Is it 100, or could a developer put much more than that on a unit acre?
Councilmember Joyce, if a developer took advantage of the maximum density bonuses granted under the schedules being proposed tonight, effective density wouldn't exceed 200 units an acre.
Okay, so we're really talking about 200. That's an important distinction, because when we talk about the conditions that we're creating for development, we are creating conditions for 200, not 100. And that's double the density of the project that is shown on the screen. So I just want to be clear that we're talking about the same thing. To me, this is a proposal of two separate items. It is a cap on the density, and then it is a separate idea to try and bring forward more affordable units. I think it was a worthy effort by staff. I think they're trying to think outside of the box. It's something that hasn't been done. But when you look at what the effective affordable housing rate is when that proposal is utilized, so let's say they propose 100 development and they go up to the 200, you take half of that effective affordability away because you're doubling the size of the overall units. So it's more of a watering down. We might as well just set it at the high rate. If we're going to set it at 200, let's be honest and open and just set it at 200. Otherwise, we should set it at the rate that we really want and not create this extra structure on top that hides the ball of adding all these units onto the property. So I did want to talk to council. Like, do we think, do my council member colleagues think that 200 units per acre is a reasonable target downtown?
I think and I'd like staff to correct this, the density bonus is when we add affordable units. What's the density if there's no affordable units?
100 units. Under the proposed scenario, it'd be 100 units an acre. Under the current scenario, it's unlimited.
Okay, since we've opened this up for discussion, so I want to make that clear. I think Councilmember Joyce is conflating the issues. It's 100. If we want to add affordable units, and Councilmember Joyce, that's what I hear from you every council meeting is we want more affordable units. I'm fine with just leaving that out and having no affordable units and just leaving it at 100. Is that what you'd like? Would you like no affordable units downtown?
We already have an inclusionary ordinance that requires affordable units. So the redundancy is that we're saying we're getting 25% affordability, but we're doubling the market rate units. So it's not 25% affordability.
Extremely high amount of affordability.
But it's
for
not
more
extremely
density.
high because what the developer looks at is the final project. They don't look at the gimmicks of getting to the number. They look at a 200-unit project. And in a 200-unit project, they could do 1 for every 9 affordable units. It's almost a 10% actual rate.
I'm going to have some more. I'm going to have Councilmember Robinson, your lights on.
It was, and I appreciate this discussion. You kind of, actually, I'm just trying to think if I still have a question, because I think you hit on what I was thinking about, was that we're assuming in your scenario, Councilmember Joyce, is that every developer is going to do choose the affordable unit issue.
So in order to trigger density bonus in general, they have to include. Now, the max proposal is the 200 units. Just like when this body, not we, but this body took the unit cap off, we didn't expect, or I would assume it was not expected to go to the worst extreme. I'm just trying to paint the picture of what happens if we pull this off, and that we're not actually getting a lot more affordable units. What we are doing is getting a lot more above market rate units. So units in that project that we just looked at, a 1-bedroom is about $5,000. And we're gonna add hundreds, maybe thousands more of those. We're talking about a housing crisis. That's pouring gas on the fire. I mean, we're creating more of a housing crisis because we're adding the most expensive possible units that we can to the city with a very small number of affordable units. Inclusionary housing cannot get us out of the housing crisis, but this is going to add to it.
Still your time.
Yeah, just real quick for staff. I want to be clear too, for projects that are currently in the queue, I imagine we have a lot of them, they're going to come in at the unlimited, correct?
Councilmember Robinson, that's correct. Projects we're currently reviewing are under the unlimited density regime. We do have a handful of projects that haven't been officially submitted yet, but they've submitted what's known as a SB 330 application, which locks in the current development standards in place, which includes density. So those projects will have 180 days from the time they submitted their SB 330 application to submit a formal development application.
Councilmember Joyce.
So I would say that our downtown does need a cap. I think we need to get a handle on the situation. I understand that the cap was removed with the understanding that we had other ways to make sure that the development was responsible. We absolutely should be setting the pace for reasonable development in the downtown area that can be handled by our infrastructure, that increases the livability of the people who actually do live downtown. Even if there are some changes, Oceansiders want to come home and recognize their hometown. They don't need these incredibly massive projects popping up out of nowhere. Yes, we need housing, but we need incremental and smart, reasonable housing. The proposed super density is a furtherance of what I've heard each of you oppose in the past, which is adding all of this on top of these density bonuses on top of what looks like a reasonable development. When we get the next big box or next mega development in the downtown, and it comes out to 200, this is going to be the time when we can look back and say we could have had a different path. So as a representative of downtown, I am asking, and I can't support this as it's written. I actually do think we should set a cap at 75 units per acre tonight, which is about double It's about double what gave us the beautiful downtown that we know and love today. It's about double. With a density bonus that is not our choice, that's state density bonus, that puts the maximum development at 103 units maximum, or can they go above that? What's the maximum density bonus that somebody could get in a development right now?
Councilmember Joyce, under the current state density bonus law, it's 50%.
50% for the very low income, which would be great if they're going to build a whole bunch more very low income units. But that would mean we would not see the densities go above 125 if my shaky math is correct. Let's build housing, but let's build reasonable housing.
So this is my challenge. And I think I don't know where it comes from, but I know you advocate for affordable housing all the time. Affordable housing is not free. Like I've heard many people in here say, the wood, the labor, all that stuff costs money. If we're gonna provide affordable housing, there has to be density with it. I'm fine with not having affordable housing in the coastal zone, but we have to realize that what you're proposing, we're not gonna get affordable housing down there. That's exactly what's gonna happen. It's going to, and maybe I'll let staff speak to this. Why did we pick this number 100 with the affordable housing, the density bonuses? And then can you also lay out what a 200, when he says 200 units, what percentage of those are what are affordable and what type of affordable, just so everyone here knows. I think it's easy to come up here and have these ideas and say we want affordable housing, but we want to fit the neighborhood scale. At a certain point, we got to pick one or the other. And I see you shaking your head, but that's reality. So.
But we don't. We could again find the way that fits all of the things. We're not going to do it all with inclusionary. No staff member has ever said we're going to get to our arena numbers with inclusionary housing. So it's going to be part of the solution. And so when we do this slide, like we're now providing a ton more affordable housing, when really it's a giveaway to developers, that's not the same thing.
So you want, without touching the density, you just want to go back to 75 units an acre with, we would
raise it from 43 to 75.
No, there's no cap right now, so we'd lower it from no cap to 75.
From the last cap that we had, yeah.
From the last cap. Right now we have no cap. So again, please be careful with your wording. Do you just want to leave the same density bonus that we have with the state and let the state density bonus go?
The state density bonus is going to give us the same percentage of actual units as the one that's proposed tonight. It's just, this one will give us projects that are 200 and not 128.
So there's less units, so there'll be less affordable units. Is that correct, Mr. Brago?
Percentages.
Can you explain that? Deputy Mayor Keim, if I could provide a little bit of background on how we came to the proposal that's being considered tonight. So, going back to the history, in 2019, the council removed the density cap for the downtown districts for mixed-use projects. We had a project that paired that unlimited density with density bonus, and there were some unintended consequences observed. In an effort to kind of rein in that type of development, we were tasked with coming up with a density cap that was reasonable, that wouldn't preclude future development within our downtown, and but also give us a little bit more control on the scale and massing of some of these projects. So what staff did was we took the projects that had come before this council in the past, some of them are constructed, some of them are approved, some of them are still being considered, and we came up with averages. We threw out the outliers, so 712 Seagaze got thrown out, Pierside North got thrown out because those are the highest and lowest density projects in the downtown of recent history. So we came to the conclusion that the average density of these projects were 175 units an acre. Clearly that's a signal from the development community of a need to be able to build at a certain intensity to be able to make projects financially feasible, because these buildings are very expensive to construct. Once you go beyond that density level, you're talking about a different construction method that's much more costly than what's realized with 175 units per acre, more or less. So that's how we came to the conclusion that we have tonight. With respect to density bonus, it really depends on which income category you're reserving unit for and how much that percentage is, and it dictates the density bonus that you're afforded. With the projects that we're currently reviewing with unlimited density, every developer has chosen to do the minimum reservation requirement required to qualify at the low income level, which is 10% of the overall units in these projects. So that's how we're getting affordable units built in the city today. So depending on the rate of reservation and which income category will dictate the amount of affordable units we get, which will also dictate the amount of bonus granted. The 25% for low income as an example, which achieves you 25% at low income, which achieves you 100% density bonus, is pretty unlikely to occur, because reserving 25 units out of 100 for low income renters is a lot for a developer to carry and be able to subsidize with the balance of the units. We have not experienced a project that has reserved more than 15% of the units to gain the largest density in my time here at the city. Okay. So the likelihood of someone taking advantage of the maximum allowances that we're proposing in our schedule is pretty unlikely, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
So what's your project that you see? What's the most likely project you see coming before us?
The next one.
No. With this proposed density, what numbers do you think? Because you said 25% is not likely, so you're saying there's 15. What do you think is something likely? Because I want to just address this 200 units, and we're voting for 200 units, which I disagree with.
So Deputy Mayor Keim, it's our opinion, this is an opinion because we haven't seen it, we haven't had the rules in place to be able to tell for certain, but the projects that we've seen, the ranges are anywhere between 150 and 175 units per acre. We would expect that's the same type of density ranges if future projects that would be submitted under this regime, that's what this council would see in the future. That's our opinion.
Okay. Do you have something?
I do.
Okay. Go ahead.
So with respect to staff, those assumptions are that we want all of these developments to be developed, that we want to develop all of the things that people propose. And the fact is, we shouldn't be saying yes to all of the developments that we possibly can. We should be saying yes to responsible developments. And that's where tonight we get to set the standard for a responsible development. So, yeah, go ahead.
So I'm confused. We can turn down developments that meet zoning right now? No, that's what I mean, we can't.
We are setting the conditions for development tonight.
Okay, so
right?
So if we're going to go to.
We are setting a cap of 200 tonight. If this passes, there's a cap of 200. That's the cap. It was as unlikely as somebody might think. Land values go up a little bit, and it happens. We're setting the cap for the future. We have to think ahead. If there's a possibility to get 200 units per acre, then it's in there. If we don't think there's any possibility and we don't want to have it at all, let's set a cap and just pull the other part out of the whole proposal.
Mr. Brego, do you have something?
Kind of along the lines of what Councilmember Joyce just mentioned. I mean, one option for consideration would be just to go ahead and set the cap at 100 and then default to state density bonus law. I think staff would be satisfied with that. Of course, the BIA may have some concern about that, to be quite honest with you, based on what we've heard tonight, but that certainly is an option. One thing to be mindful of as well is at our last housing workshop, council did give staff direction to look at a 15% inclusionary requirement. So we need to be mindful of that, because in theory, moving forward, these projects could also be subject to a 15% inclusionary requirement. So again, from staff's perspective, I think it would probably be practical to set it at 100 and then default to state density bonus law.
Okay. Yeah, they're in, but with, Mr. Joyce, would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to set the density cap at 85.
You have, and revert to state density bonus?
Well, yeah, and that would be the only part of the motion, 85. And then the rest of I think we should continue to look at ways to incentivize, but doubling the size of projects is not one.
No, so that's what I'm asking. This is because if we don't do anything, it reverts back to state. So if we just do 85 and we scrap the rest of this, then it reverts back to state at 10%. And you're okay with having only 10% affordable?
The effective rate, even with this, is only 1% higher, and we get twice the size of the projects. I'd rather have a readable document that is upfront, that we can talk about plainly, yes.
So that's what so we're reverting to state density. So your motion, I just want to be clear with your motion you're
Well,
making.
my motion is to leave the density bonus alone and set our cap for now at 85. And this would allow us to take up whatever other ideas we have for increasing affordable housing, like the 15%, which I'm very proud that the council supported moving forward at our housing workshop. That would address that concern. The 15% would go above anything we get out of this other scheme.
So this is where we're getting conflated. So you want 15%.
That's a different meeting. You don't have to worry about that one right now. Just worry about the 85 as the max.
Okay.
We can take that motion up, but I think that conflates issues that we haven't agendized for tonight. You were gonna, did you have an amendment to the motion, Councilmember Robinson?
Councilmember Weiss.
In the interest of advancing something, I would support the 85, provided we do the staff recommended density bonus for the downtown area only. That way you don't have to change the whole ordinance with the exception of one number.
I can't support the motion, the motion, the second, or the amendment to the motion.
Do I hear an alternate motion?
I'll move approval of the 85 as recommended by Councilmember Joyce with the inclusion of the proposed schedules for the enhanced density bonuses recommended by staff.
I hear a second.
If I may. Yeah, I had early on put 90, but, so what do we have? We have two different motions here?
The initial motion didn't get a second, so we have a new motion.
Okay. I'll second Councilmember Weiss's motion.
So just for clarity of the record here, before you vote, you may have more comments too. So because we didn't draft it this way, I want to make sure the record's very clear. So on section 1232 under D District Property Development Regulations, as I understand the motion, we would strike 100 in the bolded and underlined and replace it with 85, but the remaining sections of 1234 would remain as recommended by staff. Is that right? Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Joyce.
So I just want to speak to what the motion means. So this now means not 200, so now the line is 170. So 170 is now the max possible units per acre if this passes tonight. I think above 150 is too much. We're gonna see, we're already seeing what it looks like to have massive development. I don't think there's a shred of need to incentivize the downtown district. The downtown district is as incentivized as it's going to get. This is searching for a solution to a problem that's not there. I'm frustrated as a representative of downtown that I can't support the motion as it stands, unfortunately.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion is 2-2 and it fails.
So Mayor, you have a rule, Deputy Mayor, you have a rule that a tie on a project will default to the next meeting, so this will need to be agendized at the next meeting.
Okay. Moving on to our last item, general council member comments.
I bet your mine's quicker than yours. So I just wanted to report to council, because we don't get to talk about some of these things in advance, is the League of California Cities, I'm the rep, and they are recruiting for committee members, and I just wanted to let you all know that I am considering applying for, I think probably their public safety committee. So just wanted to say that here so you could talk me out of it if you. Why? See, I knew. Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Joyce.
I just report out that I attended the Clean Energy Alliance's last meeting, and they have now hired a new CEO moving in as we are adopting into the agreement ourselves. So it's an exciting time to be joining, and I look forward to all the ways that we can serve our citizens better.
And Councilmember Robinson, would you like to adjourn the meeting for us tonight to next week for the Planning Commission?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you for allowing me to do this. On September 23rd, one of our residents, Jensen Hughes, a young lady whose family has been a longtime resident out in District 2, the Hughes family, Jensen lost her life in a bicycle accident on our bike path. And I would just, in memory of Jensen Hughes, I would just like to adjourn this meeting in her memory. So please join me for a moment of silence and prayer for her and the Hughes family. And Jensen's celebration of life is going to be this Sunday, October 8th. So.
Meeting adjourned until 11th for Planning Commission.
Thank you.